Hi, I'm Jeff Burch. I'm with AMX with HARMAN. I started with AMX before the HARMAN acquisition back in 2008. I've been doing product management for AMX ever since. I now run the product management group for all of the AMX brand products.
And I'm Phil Scobee. I've been with HARMAN going on 11 years, been in the audio industry 35 plus years. And I head up the product side of the business for audio install. So yeah, it's good for Jeff and I to be back at Integrate this year. We were here last year. A lot has happened at HARMAN in the past 12 months since we were here. I know from my side, on the audio side, we've launched BSS Omni, a new platform of DSP and a whole new software suite called AVX. And we're really working close to integrate the video side with the audio. And I think Jeff and I can elaborate on some of that. But that's what I've been busy with for the past 12 months.
Yeah, and a year ago here at Integrate, we sort of had some secret launches of Muse. I think it was about 2, maybe 3 weeks after Integrate last year that we had the official Muse launch. And that has really set fire. That has really gotten a lot of attention from a lot of folks. And we didn't just quit there. So we've actually, at this Integrate a year later now, we have a pretty significant firmware update that we've announced here with a number of enhancements to it. Back a year ago, the N2600 network AV product and the N3300 were still fairly new. That was really the first real big introduction into the Australian market. Those are now another year older, and adoption there has been really fantastic. A lot of great feedback on those products and their feature set that really is unique and sets them apart. Varia panels have been around for a bit. And again, same story, right? A lot of firmware updates to the Varia panels, a lot of new features coming in the next couple of months. I think, especially with Muse, it has struck a chord with a number of people because it's things that I have heard in the past that people have said they wanted, but it's also things that people didn't know they want when we talk about it. And then they immediately, it's pretty quick that they recognize the revolutionary aspect of the Muse controller, right? The concept of breaking outside of this very AV-centric walled garden platform, allowing people to write in a standard non-AV-centric coding language, and the ability to write in multiples of those and write multiples simultaneously and have all those scripts run simultaneously. I tell you what has surprised me a little bit is the acceptance and the excitement around the low-code piece. The Node-RED-based automator that allows you just to drag and drop nodes in, draw lines to connect them together, to create your logic and to create your activities. I knew that would fill a niche, but that niche has been much bigger than I expected. There's really been quite a lot of excitement. I thought it would be something that people would augment their high code with, but I've heard a number of folks talk about they're actually creating their whole control system just from the low code platform, which I think is fantastic.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think we've always had a long customer base that's been a traditional BSS user, and they're happy to see the new platform and see the improvements to it and the scalability of how much bigger it is from what they've had in the past. And then I think we're gaining a lot of new customers because of that scalability and how big it is. That was reaching a different market pool. So hardware is one thing. I think the other thing that's really interesting for me in seeing how people are reacting to it is we've been working with AMX and Jeff and I, and putting this whole ecosystem of how the software is going to work and what we call the workflow, right? And they are not normally traditional workflows from a video side versus an audio side. And we have figured out a way to merge that workflow and make it best for both worlds. And I think we're going to see over time a whole group of people just come to love the fact that whether you're a video programmer or an audio programmer, the overall design is improved, the workflow is improved, improved, and the ability to create and do things that they couldn't do before is improved. So I think we're going to have a really large customer base in the future as we keep expanding the technology and building on what we're working on. We have a lot of the Muse technology already embedded in BSS, which is a first clue of how we're going to put this together. But over time, you're just going to see those two platforms merge and grow together even more. Yeah, I can. So let's take it from a traditional Muse customer today that may not have any audio, right? Jeff's given them the tools, right, with Automator and VS Code and all the ability to program. And now as we merge that into AVX, they can still do it that way, but maybe they have audio as well. And now they start with the workflow and they start with laying out the system, then they do the DSP, and then there'll be another view that would be code node red, the Automator page, and then there'll be the VS Code page. So they can just keep their workflow going, whether they're independent streams or whether they're total work streams, they'll be able to work under the same canvas in one solid workflow. So it's merging the best of both worlds, not only from a technology, but from a usability point of view and how workflow people want to work.
Yeah, and it's the flexibility, I think, of that workflow, right?
That
Phil
makes
and I
it
have had a
nice.
lot of discussions about, well, the audio guys do it this way, the video guys kind of do it this way. And, do you start with a user interface and sort of create your user interface to build the concept of what you want the customer experience to be? Or do you start with EQing the room and the hardware already being in the space? And what we didn't want to do is lock people into one way or the other. There's value in doing it both ways, and there's different people that work in the different ways. So we've really focused on the flexibility to allow people to approach the software at the point that they want to approach it and start at the point that they want to start, and then fill in whatever direction they need to from there.
Yeah, we don't want to define how people should have to work. We're giving them a tool set, but we're giving them the option to work what they're used to and the way they want to work. And I think that's a really powerful message. It's hard to do, but we're doing a really good job of trying to merge those two workflows.
I think what you're getting, the key there is, we have this AVX software suite. Phil can talk even more about the AVX software suite. Omni, the BSS Omni is by nature already encompassed within this AVX suite, but the AVX suite of tools is a really, really powerful suite of tools, and we are working on making that the tool that people can use, without getting rid of tools that people can already use in the SVSI space, in the network AV space, for example. We have a tool called nCommand. We have a standard control API that people can use, and you can continue to use it that way, but the new N2600 and 3300 network AV boxes also have implemented full H control support. And by that means that it now can reside as a first-class citizen within the AVX software suite. So as we move forward, and network AV products will show up in the architect view, they'll be draggable onto the canvas, they'll be routable and configurable. And they already show up today in Manager, which allows you to see status and set certain configurations and do updates. So you can do it the way you're doing it now, and that's just one example. All of the products across Pro, not just AMX and BSS, but across Pro, we are making H control compatible. We are making them AVX compatible so that they live in the same space. And so you can use a consistent set of tools regardless of what HARMAN Pro product you use.
Just one little point I would add to that, and H control is just a fancy word for our communication protocol, but it's also an upgrade to what we had before, which was HiQNet, which was a very hex-based, really hard to program, not a very knowledgeable language. Not because it was built that way, it's just what we did 20 years ago, right? So now we've modernized it, more standard-based. Looks a lot like a JSON language. So I think programmers will understand that control language much better, and they'll be able to adapt to it. And so not only is it API friendly, and because we want to play with the third parties in the world and get, we can't do every piece of gear, but H control is our means for communicating with any HARMAN device on a network. AVX is just our name for a suite of applications to do the design. We kind of narrow it down to design, configure, control, and program and automate, right? So it does all those basic functions within the suite. It's currently 2 applications. It's the AVX application, and then there's a small lightweight application that you deploy on your device, whether it's a iOS or a Mac or a Windows or an Android tablet, and then we can push a control panel to it so you can do custom interfaces. So it's really two applications to do that programming.
And it covers the full breadth of the design. You can start from the first ideation concept at the consultant level. What are you trying to build? What are you trying to accomplish? Let's drag some devices in. Let's connect them up with some lines to show how they connect and how they interact, to creating the user interface for it, creating some programming behind it, assigning it to rooms and spaces, deploying it into those rooms and spaces, configuring them with specific IP addresses if needed. So it's everything from A to Z on how to start from nothing to having a completely defined, configured, deploy, and manageable system. It's the open tools, right? The fact that we're using VS Code as our standard, and not a customized VS Code, it's standard VS Code. You just go get it and download it from wherever you want, and you just add our plugin to it. So if VS Code changes dramatically over the next 10 years, we're still going to be there with it and we're going to grow with it. If there's some new tool, there's nothing special about VS Code in our ecosystem. We're not locked into it. We're actually looking at other development environments to support. You can use them today already, but we're looking at how to integrate them even closer. If some new tool comes out and is the next new way of creating next new development environment for programming, then we can certainly adopt to that, because we haven't done anything to lock us into any sort of standard. The same is true with our language choices, Python, JavaScript, Groovy. If something like Rust suddenly becomes the absolute be-all, end-all of AV programming, it's not that difficult. The architecture is set up such that we can drag in another language application and support it. So I think that's a huge advantage to adopting these open tools and standard languages, is that we haven't locked ourselves into something custom that we created. We're using the best of what's already created by the community out there, and we can just continue to adapt to whatever changes happen.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, when AV programming started for audio, at least in DSP 20 years ago, nobody knew where we were going to be today. And I think every company just sort of created their own little path, their own little tunnel, their own little proprietary thing. I think now the trend, and a safe, smart trend, is to be more open and standards-based so you can adapt to changes in the market. So I think we've set up with our software to do that. And we're also really concerned about things that we didn't think about 20 years ago, such as security and how to really lock things down and make it environmentally safe and secure. And I think we have all the right tool set to do that. I can't predict the future, what will happen in 10 years, but we've given it our best shot, at least, to be as adaptable to what trends follow in the future. We're already looking at things like AI and how we can implement much of that technology and automate some of what the workflow is. And I think you'll see some really creative things that we're working on in the future.